February 1944. Rear area, Anzio Beachhead, Italy. The containment cell wasn't a prison. It was a pit dug into the clay, covered with heavy iron grates and surrounded by 3 layers of razor wire. A sign posted outside read, "Danger, do not approach, feed with poles." 2 American MPs stood guard. They were nervous. They kept their Thompson submachine guns pointed at the pit, safeties off. "I swear to God," Private Miller whispered, spitting tobacco juice into the mud. "If they try to climb out, I'm emptying the drum. I don't care what the colonel says." "Save the bullets," Sergeant Kowalski muttered. "Just pray the Germans kill them. It would save the taxpayers a lot of money." Down in the pit, the monsters were bored. The mud stank of urine and old blood. They hadn't been allowed to shower in 3 weeks. They didn't care. Nitro was giggling. He was sitting cross-legged in the filth, holding an MK2 pineapple grenade. "Tick, tick, tick," Nitro whispered. He pulled the pin. The spoon, safety lever, pinged off into the darkness. The fuse was lit. 4 seconds to detonation. Nitro didn't throw it. He tossed it gently to Tiny. The giant caught it with a hand the size of a shovel. He looked at the grenade like it was a ham sandwich. 3, Tiny grunted. He tossed it to Ghost. The Apache didn't even look up from the rat he was skinning alive with a piece of sharpened glass. He caught the grenade, held it for a heartbeat, staring into the fuse smoke, and tossed it to Sarge. 2, Sarge said. He casually flicked his wrist, tossing the grenade up and out through the iron grate. "Fire in the hole, ladies." Boom! The grenade exploded in the air, 10 feet above the pit. Shrapnel pinged against the bars. Down in the pit, the gravediggers roared with laughter. It was a cold, cruel sound. They weren't afraid of dying. They were afraid of being bored. The mission briefing. The gate opened an hour later. A colonel from the OSS, Office of Strategic Services, descended the ladder. He looked pristine in his pressed uniform. He looked at the 4 men in the pit with pure disgust. "You animals smell like death," the colonel said, holding a handkerchief to his nose. "That's the smell of your future, Colonel," Sarge grinned. His teeth were stained black. "What's the job? Did someone steal your mistress's jewelry?" "The job is suicide," the colonel said. "That's why I picked you. If you die, nobody writes a letter home. Nobody cries." The colonel unfolded a map on a crate. "There is a German railway gun, a Krupp K5, Anzio Annie. It's hidden inside a mountain tunnel near Valmontone. It rolls out, fires a 500-pound shell at our beachhead, and rolls back inside before our bombers can hit it. It's killing hundreds of men a day." "And?" Tiny asked, scratching a scab on his neck. "I don't care about dead soldiers." "I know you don't," the colonel said with contempt, "but you care about this." He threw a file on the table. "This gun is guarded by the Totenkopf, Death's Head SS. They are transporting a shipment of looted Italian art and gold bullion on the same train. The train is armored. It's a fortress on wheels." Sarge's eyes narrowed. "Gold?" "Tons of it," the colonel lied. Or maybe he wasn't lying. "You destroy the gun. Whatever you find in the baggage car, well, the army might lose the paperwork." Nitro licked his lips. "I like trains. They burn real good." "There's a catch," the colonel added. "The tunnel is rigged, the train is armored, and the SS commander is Standenferker Kruger. He skins prisoners for fun." Ghost looked up from his skinned rat. For the first time, he smiled. It was a smile that would make a devil cross the street. "I want his scalp," Ghost said. His voice sounded like dry leaves breaking. "You can have his scalp, his liver, and his boots," the colonel said. "Just destroy that gun." The infiltration. No witnesses. They didn't parachute. They didn't drive. They were dumped off a PT boat 5 miles up the coast, in the middle of a swamp. "Remember," Sarge told the team as they waded through chest-deep sludge, "we aren't soldiers. We don't have rules of engagement.
If it moves, kill it. If it doesn't move, blow it up. If it's American, stay away. They'll shoot us on sight. They found a farmhouse near the railway tracks. An Italian family lived there. Tiny, check the house, Sarge ordered. Tiny kicked the door in. Screams erupted inside. 5 minutes later, Tiny walked out. He was wiping tomato sauce, or blood, off of his mouth with a lace tablecloth. Clear, Tiny belched. Did you leave any survivors? Sarge asked. Tiny shrugged. They were loud. I hate loud. Sarge didn't blink. Good. No witnesses means no reports. This was the reality of the gravediggers. They weren't saving the Italian people. They were an invasive species, consuming everything in their path. The ambush. They set up along the railway tracks leading to the mountain tunnel. Nitro was busy. He wasn't just planting explosives, he was creating art. He took a 155mm artillery shell, dud, they found in a ditch, and he wired it to a pressure plate under the tracks. But he added a twist. I wired it with a delay, Nitro giggled, his hands shaking with excitement. The engine triggers it, but it doesn't blow the engine. It waits 3 seconds. It blows the troop car behind it. Maximum meat sauce. Sarge whispered, eyes. Ghost climbed a telegraph pole like a lizard. He sat on the crossbar, blending perfectly with the wood.
Train coming, Ghost signaled. Armored engine. 2 flatbeds with flak guns. 1 massive gun car. 3 troop cars. 1 luxury car. That's Kruger's car. Sarge checked his Thompson. Tiny, you ready? Tiny was hiding in a drainage ditch. He had found a massive iron rail tie, a piece of steel weighing 200 pounds. He was holding it like a baseball bat. I'm gonna hit a home run, Sarge. The ground began to shake. The chug-chug-chug of the massive diesel locomotive echoed off the canyon walls. The Anzio Annie was coming home to roost. It was a monster of engineering, 90 feet long, carrying a gun barrel that could throw a shell 40 miles. But it was about to meet 4 things that didn't care about engineering. The train roared closer. Nitro's eyes went wide. Wait for it. Wait for it. The engine passed over the trigger. Click. 1, 2, 3. Kaboom! The explosion wasn't just loud, it was tectonic. The charge detonated directly under the first troop car. The wagon didn't just derail, it vaporized. Wood, steel, and Nazi soldiers were thrown 100 feet into the air. The train screeched, metal grinding on metal, sparks showering the night like fireworks. The massive railway gun lurched and tilted, but didn't fall. Showtime! Sarge screamed. He didn't run for cover, he ran toward the wreck. The gravediggers weren't looking for a tactical advantage, they were looking for the kill. The derailment zone, 02:15 hours. The train wreck looked like the spine of a prehistoric beast broken in 3 places. The locomotive was on its side, wheels spinning lazily in the air, spewing black smoke and steam. The troop car that Nitro had targeted was gone, replaced by a crater of burning splinters and twisted iron. But the rear cars, the armored flak wagons, and the massive Anzio Annie gun carriage were intact, and they were waking up. Searchlights from the flat cars snapped on, sweeping the smoke-filled gorge. Thump, 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 thump. The quad 20mm anti-aircraft guns lowered their barrels. They weren't aiming at planes, they were aiming at the tree line. They began to chew up the forest, turning oak trees into sawdust in seconds. Sarge didn't flinch. He was crouched behind a boulder, lighting a cigarette with a Zippo lighter that had a dent from a bullet in it. Tiny, Sarge said calmly into his radio. That flak gun is annoying me. Make it stop. On it, boss, Tiny's voice rumbled back. The giant's playpen. Tiny didn't flank the train. He walked straight at it. He emerged from the smoke carrying a jagged sheet of metal he had ripped off the destroyed locomotive. He used it as a shield. The 20mm rounds hammered against it. Clang, 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 denting the steel, pushing Tiny back inches but not stopping him. He laughed. Is that all you got, Hans? My grandma hits harder. He reached the flatbed car.
He threw the metal shield at the gun crew, crushing one loader. Then he vaulted onto the deck. This was close-quarters combat inside a metal box. The SS gunners drew their Lugers and knives. Tiny dropped his machine gun. He didn't need bullets here. He grabbed the first SS soldier by the helmet. He squeezed. The helmet buckled. The man screamed until he didn't. Tiny used the limp body as a flail to knock two other soldiers off the train car. They landed on the tracks with a bone-shattering crunch. The gun commander tried to swing the quad cannon around to shoot Tiny point blank. Tiny grabbed the 4 red-hot barrels of the cannon with his bare hands. He roared, muscles tearing his uniform sleeves. He pulled. With a screech of tearing metal, he ripped the mounting bolts out of the deck. He twisted the guns upward, rendering them useless. He looked at the terrified gun commander. "You broke my toy," Tiny whispered. He picked up his sledgehammer. "Now I break you." The ghost in the machine. While Tiny made noise, Ghost made silence. He had slipped under the train cars. He was crawling through the grease and oil of the undercarriage. He reached the command car, the luxurious armored wagon of Stundartenführer Kruger. There were slits in the floor for ventilation. Ghost peered up. He saw polished boots. He heard shouting in German. Ghost pulled a long, thin wire from his belt, a garrote made from piano wire. He found a maintenance hatch. He pushed it open, silently. An SS guard was standing right above it. Ghost reached up. He grabbed the guard's ankle and yanked. The guard fell into the hole. He didn't hit the ground. Ghost caught him, spun him, and wrapped the wire around his neck. The struggle lasted 3 seconds. No noise, just the friction of wire on skin. Ghost pulled the body down under the train. He stripped the grenades from the dead man's belt. He didn't climb up yet. He took a pouch from his vest. It was filled with rattlesnakes he had caught in the Texas desert before shipping out. He collected them. He loved them. He tossed the pouch up into the command car. He heard the snakes hissing as they slithered out onto the polished wood floor. Then he heard screams. "Schlange! Schlange! Snakes! Snakes!" Ghost smiled. It was a cold reptilian smile. He climbed into the chaos. Nitro's Symphony. Nitro was disappointed. His first explosion had been too quick. He wanted something that lasted longer. He was eyeing the massive Anzio Annie railway gun. The barrel was 70 feet long. The breech was the size of a car. "That is a big gun," Nitro giggled. "I wonder what happens if it eats a spicy meatball." He sprinted toward the gun car, dodging machine gun fire. He was carrying a flamethrower on his back, an M2 model he had modified to spray a mixture of napalm and diesel. He reached the ammunition tender behind the gun. It was stacked with 500-pound shells and bags of cordite propellant. An SS squad was setting up a defensive perimeter around the ammo. "Does anyone have a light?" Nitro shouted. He pulled the trigger. A stream of liquid fire, orange and angry, arched through the air. It coated the SS soldiers. Napalm doesn't wash off. It burns under water. It burns through bone. The soldiers turned into living torches, flailing and screaming, diving off the train into the dry brush, setting the forest on fire. Nitro laughed so hard he started coughing. "Look at them run! It's a dance party!" He walked up to the massive stack of cordite bags. He patted his flamethrower tank. "Not yet," he whispered to the explosives. "Wait for the grand finale." The gold and the blood. Sarge stepped over the bodies Tiny had left behind. He climbed into the wreckage of the baggage car. The explosion had ripped the side open. Inside, spilling out of broken crates, was the loot. It wasn't just gold. It was the plunder of Italy. Renaissance paintings in gilded frames ripped from museums, statues of saints, silver candlesticks from churches, and bags of gold teeth ripped from the mouths of Jews and prisoners. Sarge kicked a bag. Gold molars spilled out into the blood and mud. Disgusting, Sarge spat. He didn't care about the art. He cared about the greed. He knew that men died for this. A surviving SS officer, half blinded by blood, crawled out from under a pile of paintings. He raised a pistol. Sarge didn't even look. He fired a burst from his Thompson one-handed. The officer's head snapped back. "Tiny!" Sarge yelled. Tiny climbed into the car, ducking to fit his massive frame. "Look at this, Tiny," Sarge pointed to the gold teeth. "This is what we're fighting for, the dentist's retirement fund." Tiny picked up a gold bar. He bit it. "It's soft." "Leave it," Sarge ordered. "We aren't thieves today. We're janitors. We're cleaning up the trash." "Can I keep a souvenir?" Tiny asked, holding up a golden chalice. "Only if you use it to beat someone to death," Sarge said. Tiny grinned and tucked the chalice into his belt. The boss fight begins. They gathered at the heavy steel door of Kruger's private armored car. Inside, they could hear the panic caused by Ghost's snakes. Gunshots, shouting. "Ghost, open it," Sarge ordered. Ghost placed a shape charge on the lock. Boom. The door swung open. They stormed in.
The interior was lavish. Mahogany walls, leather chairs, a crystal chandelier, now shattered on the floor. 3 dead guards lay on the carpet, their faces blue from snake bites or crushed by fear. At the end of the car, behind a heavy oak desk, stood Standenführer Kruger. He looked immaculate. His black uniform was pressed. His iron cross hung at his throat. He was holding a Luger in one hand and a glass of cognac in the other. But he wasn't looking at them. He was looking at the rattlesnake coiled on his desk, inches from his hand. "American ingenuity," Kruger sneered, his English perfect. "Biological warfare. How primitive." Sarge stepped forward, blood dripping from his knife. "We aren't Americans, Kruger. We're the nightmares you have when you sleep." Kruger laughed. He raised the Luger. "You are filth, criminals. You think you can kill me? I am the Third Reich." He pulled the trigger. The bullet hit Tiny in the chest. Tiny looked down at his chest. The bullet had hit the stolen golden chalice tucked in his belt. It left a dent in the gold. Tiny looked up. His eyes went black. "You scratched my cup." Tiny threw the sledgehammer aside. He walked toward Kruger. Kruger fired again. Shoulder, leg. Tiny didn't stop. He was a wall of meat and rage. He reached the desk. He grabbed Kruger by the throat and lifted him into the air with one hand. Kruger dropped the gun, clawing at Tiny's wrist. "Sarge?" Tiny asked, holding the struggling Nazi in the air like a rag doll. "You said Ghost wanted his scalp." "Yeah." Sarge sat down in one of the leather chairs and poured himself a drink from Kruger's bottle. "Ghost, he's all yours, but don't kill him yet. We need him to watch the fireworks." Ghost stepped forward. He pulled out his knife. It wasn't a combat knife. It was a rusted, jagged piece of metal. "This will hurt," Ghost whispered. It was the first time he had spoken all night. The trap. Nitro ran into the car. "Sarge, real bad news." "What?" Sarge asked, watching Ghost work. "The tunnel. I checked the charges inside. It's not just rigged to collapse. It's rigged with nerve gas, sarin. If we blow the gun inside the tunnel, the gas spreads. It'll kill everyone in the valley, civilians too." Sarge frowned. "I don't care about civilians." "Yeah, but the wind is blowing this way," Nitro said. "It'll kill us." Sarge stood up. "Okay, change of plan. We don't blow it in the tunnel. We send it back." "Back where?" Tiny asked, dropping the now scalped and screaming Kruger. "Back to the station, full speed. We turned this train into a 500-ton missile. We ram it right down the throat of the German reinforcements coming up the line."
I like that, Nitro clapped his hands. A suicide train. One problem, Sarge checked his ammo. Who drives it? They all looked at each other. Driving a burning train filled with explosives wasn't a survival strategy. It was a death sentence. I'll do it, a voice said. They turned. It was the Italian farmer whose house Tiny had cleared earlier. He was standing in the doorway, holding a pitchfork. He was covered in blood, but he was alive. He looked at the screaming Kruger. He looked at the Americans. He killed my wife, the farmer said in broken English, pointing at Kruger. I drive. I send him to hell. Sarge smiled. Tiny, give the man a helmet. He's hired. The departure. Sarge dragged the screaming, scalped stand-and-furrer Kruger to the front of the locomotive. The massive diesel engine was idling, a deep, chest-vibrating thrum. You wanted to lead your troops, Kruger? Sarge shouted over the noise. Now you get to be the first one to meet them. Tiny used a coil of heavy steel wire to lash Kruger to the front grille of the engine. He was the hood ornament from hell. Blood ran down his face, blinding him. Please, Kruger shrieked. I have money. I have Swiss accounts. I don't need money, Tiny grunted, tightening the wire until it cut into Kruger's ribs. I have a cup. He patted the dented golden chalice in his belt. Inside the cab, the Italian farmer sat at the controls. His name was Marco. He had lost everything. Now he had a 2,000 horsepower engine and a death wish. You know how to drive this? Sarge asked. Marco spat on the floor. It moves forward. That is enough. Nitro was in the rear, rigging the Anzio Annie massive gun car. He stacked the crates of cordite around the 500-pound shells. He set a timer. 3 minutes, Nitro yelled, running back to the engine. 3 minutes until the biggest headache in history. The rolling thunder. Marco slammed the throttle forward. The wheels spun, sparks showering the tracks. The beast began to move. It picked up speed, 10 miles per hour, 20 miles per hour, 30 miles per hour. They were heading back down the mountain, gravity assisting the engine. The wind whipped through the shattered windows. But they weren't alone. A convoy of German trucks and half-tracks was racing up the parallel road, trying to intercept them. They saw the train coming down. They saw their commander tied to the front. They opened fire. Bullets pinged off the armored sides of the locomotive. Party time! Tiny yelled as he climbed onto the roof of the moving train. The wind was tearing at his clothes. He stood legs apart, balancing like a surfer on a tsunami of steel. He held his sledgehammer in one hand and a captured MP-40 in the other. An SS soldier tried to climb onto the train from a moving truck driving alongside. Tiny swung the hammer. It hit the soldier in the chest mid-air. The man flew backward off the train like a rag doll, landing under the wheels of his own truck. Crunch.
The tunnel fight. The train screamed into a short tunnel. Darkness swallowed them. But inside the tunnel, there were more Germans, a maintenance crew on a scaffolding. As the train roared past, 3 SS commandos jumped onto the roof. It was a knife fight in a hurricane. Ghost was waiting for them. He was crouched low, holding his tomahawk. The first German lunged. Ghost swept his leg, tripping him. The German slid off the slippery roof, falling between the cars. The wheel sliced him in half instantly. Sarge was wrestling with the second commando. The German had a knife at Sarge's throat. Sarge headbutted him. He broke the German's nose. Then he grabbed the man by the belt and the neck and threw him off the train, directly into the stone wall of the tunnel, passing at 50 miles per hour. The body exploded like a ripe melon. Tiny grabbed the third commando by the neck. He lifted him up into the darkness of the tunnel ceiling. Thwack! A concrete support beam hit the German's head. Tiny was left holding a headless body. He tossed it aside. "Watch your head," Tiny laughed. "Low clearance." The point of no return. They burst out of the tunnel. The train was now doing 60 miles per hour. The tracks were screaming. The brakes were glowing red hot, but Marco wasn't using them. Ahead, down in the valley, lay the main German staging area.
A rail yard packed with fuel tankers, ammo trains, and troop transports, thousands of soldiers. They saw the train coming. They saw the fire. They saw Kruger tied to the front, screaming soundlessly. "Nitro, how long?" Sarge yelled. 30 seconds to boom, Nitro cackled. He was hanging off the side of the ladder, looking at the approaching destruction with pure love. "We jump," Sarge ordered. "Now, hitting the river." The train was crossing a high viaduct over a black river. It was a 50-foot drop. Tiny looked down. "I don't like water, Sarge. I sink." "Then flap your arms," Sarge shoved him. Tiny fell, flailing his massive limbs. Splash. Nitro jumped, giggling. Splash. Ghost dove like an Olympic swimmer. Silent, graceful. Splash. Sarge looked at Marco in the cab. "Come on, old man, jump!" Marco looked at Sarge. He smiled. He shook his head. He pointed at the photo of his wife taped to the dashboard. "No," Marco said softly. "I deliver the package." Sarge saluted him. "Give 'em hell." Sarge jumped into the void. The impact. Sarge hit the water hard. The cold knocked the wind out of him. He swam to the surface, gasping. He looked up. The train of the dead, was a dark comet streaking across the sky. It hit the rail yard at 70 miles per hour. First, the impact. The locomotive smashed into a parked fuel train. Standartenführer Kruger was vaporized instantly, the first atom to enter the inferno. Then Nitro's timer hit 0. The Anzio Annie ammunition car detonated. It wasn't an explosion, it was a geological event.
A deep male voice, calm and reflective, with a somber and emotional tone. The delivery should sound like a war documentary narrator, steady and heartfelt, as if he's remembering something painful but important. A mushroom cloud of fire rose 500 feet into the air. The shock wave flattened every building within a mile. The German staging area simply ceased to exist. It was replaced by a crater of burning oil and twisted steel. The sound hit them a second later, a roar that shattered eardrums and shook the riverbed. Tiny surfaced, spitting water. He held up his golden chalice. It was full of river water. "To Marco," Tiny rumbled. He drank the muddy water. "To Marco," Sarge whispered, watching the firestorm. The aftermath. 3 days later, U.S. military prison, Naples. The cell door slammed shut. The 4 men were back in their cage. They were clean, mostly. Their wounds were bandaged. The OSS colonel stood outside the bars. He looked pale. "The reconnaissance photos came back," the colonel said. "You didn't just destroy the gun, you destroyed the entire railhead. The 10th Army is advancing. The road to Rome is open." "Do we get a medal?" Nitro asked, scratching a rash. "No," the colonel said. "You get to live, and you get a shower." "I want my rat back," Ghost said. It was the first thing he had said in 3 days. The colonel shuddered. He threw a pack of cigarettes into the cell and walked away quickly. Sarge lit a cigarette. He inhaled deeply. "Well, boys," Sarge smiled, his eyes reflecting the memory of the fire. "What's next? I heard there's a nice beach in Normandy." Tiny laughed. "I hope they have sausages." The end.